Here's an uncomfortable little truth to open with. Understanding why you spend the way you do has never, on its own, changed a single bank balance. Not once. Not for anyone. You can know exactly whose voice is in your head. You can name your money script out loud. You can catch lifestyle creep the second it starts, and still end the month with nothing extra to show for it. Because insight without a system is just a very well-informed way of staying stuck. So today we're building the system, not a vague idea of one, not "I should probably budget more." An actual functioning structure that takes everything we've covered so far and turns it into something that runs almost automatically, even on the days your motivation is at zero, even on the days that old script is whispering its usual nonsense in your ear. Welcome back to Capital Frame. If this is your first episode with us, pause this, go watch episode 1 first, go episode 2, raise builds directly on both of those, and it'll land 10 times harder if you've got that foundation. For everyone who's been here since the start, welcome back. Today we finally get our hands dirty. Let's talk about why most budgets fail, because understanding the failure is what's going to make this one stick. Most people's first attempt at a budget looks something like this. They open a spreadsheet or an app, list out every category they can think of, assign some optimistic number to each one, and feel great for about 4 days. Then real life happens. An expense they forgot about shows up. A category runs out halfway through the month, and instead of adjusting, they feel like they failed, quietly abandon the whole thing, and go back to whatever autopilot system or lack of system they had before. Sound familiar? Here's the actual problem. That kind of budget treats money like a moral test. Stay under the number, you're good. Go over, you're bad. And if you remember episode 1, you already know exactly why that setup is doomed. Because for a huge number of people, money is already tangled up with guilt, fear, or shame from childhood. A budget that's just a stricter version of that same emotional trap isn't a fix. It's just your old money script wearing a spreadsheet. The system we're building today works differently. It's not about restriction. It's about assigning every dollar an actual job, the way we talked about at the end of episode 1. Because a dollar with a job is a dollar, an old, scared belief has a much harder time hijacking. Let's build it step by step. Step 1, find your real number, not your hopeful number. Before you can build a budget, you need to know what actually happens right now, not what you assume happens or wish happened. Pull up the last 2 to 3 months of your actual spending, bank statements, card statements, whatever you've got. Don't judge it yet, just look at it. Most people are shocked by at least one category. Usually food, usually subscriptions, sometimes both. This step alone, just seeing the real number instead of the guessed number, does something psychologically important. It moves your spending from vague feeling to actual fact, which, if you remember episode 1's advice about namming your script out loud, is the exact same mechanism. You can't fix what you refuse to look at clearly. Step 2, split everything into 3 buckets, not 20. This is where most budgeting advice overcomplicates things, and it's a big reason people give up. You don't need 30 categories. You need 3 buckets, and each one needs a clear job description. Bucket 1, fixed obligations. Rent or mortgage, minimum debt payments, insurance, utilities, the things that happen whether you think about them or not. This bucket usually eats the biggest chunk of your income, and there's not a lot of flexibility here month to month. Bucket 2, future you. This is savings, investments, an emergency fund, extra debt payoff beyond the minimum, anything that isn't spent today but is building something for later. This is the bucket that almost everyone underfunds, not because they don't care about the future, but because the future doesn't send you an urgent notification the way a bill or a tempting purchase does. Nobody feels the absence of this bucket until years later, which is exactly why it needs to be automatic rather than something you remember to do when you feel like it. Bucket 3, present you. This is everything that makes your actual day-to-day life feel livable and enjoyable: food, going out, hobbies, the stuff you genuinely want. And I want to be really direct about something here, because if you came from a money vigilance household, like we talked about in episode 1, you might already be flinching at this bucket. This bucket is not optional. This bucket is not a guilty afterthought. Guilt-free spending on things you value is a required part of a system that actually lasts, because a budget with zero room for enjoyment doesn't get followed. It gets broken, usually dramatically, usually with a wave of guilt afterward that makes the whole cycle worse. Step 3. Assign real percentages, but treat them as a starting point, not a law. A commonly used rough starting split looks something like 50% toward fixed obligations, 20 to 30% toward future you, and the remainder toward present you. But here's the thing nobody says loudly enough. Your actual numbers depend entirely on your actual income, your actual city, your actual life. If your fixed obligations are eating 70% because of where you live or what you're dealing with right now, that's not a personal failure, that's just current reality, and the fix isn't shame, it's a plan to shift that ratio over time. The percentages are a compass, not a courtroom. Step 4. Automate the boring part. This is, without exaggeration, the single highest leverage move in this entire episode. The moment your income arrives, have your future you bucket move automatically before you ever see it sitting in your regular account. Not a reminder to transfer it manually, not a plan to do it at the end of the month if there's anything left. Automatic, immediate, invisible. Why does this matter so much? Because remember lifestyle creep from episode 2, creep happens specifically in that gap between money arriving and money being assigned a job. If you close that gap entirely, creep has almost nowhere to live. You can't slowly, accidentally spend money you never actually saw sitting there in the first place. Step 5. Build in a review, not a punishment. Once a month, sit down for maybe 15 minutes and look at what actually happened versus what you planned. Here's the critical mindset shift. This is not a report card. You are not grading yourself. You're gathering information the same way you'd check the weather before deciding what to wear. When over in one category, fine, that's data. Either the category needs more room next month, or you'll adjust the behavior, or maybe it was a one-time thing and it doesn't matter at all. The goal of this review is never to feel bad. The goal is to notice calmly, exactly like we talked about with money scripts. Noticing without judgment is what actually creates change. Judgment just creates avoidance, and avoidance is exactly the trap we're trying to build our way out of. Now let's talk about how this system needs to bend depending on which money script you're carrying, because a generic budget rarely survives contact with a specific childhood. If you're an avoider, your biggest risk isn't overspending, it's simply never looking. For you, automation matters even more than usual because it removes the step where you'd normally have to confront the numbers directly. Set up automatic transfers, automatic bill pay, and then commit to one small, low-stakes weekly check-in, just glancing at a total, nothing deep, specifically to rebuild the muscle of looking without flinching. If you're a worshipper, your risk is bucket 3 quietly swallowing buckets 1 and 2. For you, the fix isn't eliminating enjoyment spending, it's giving it a firm, honest number and treating that number as real, the same way rent is real. When the number's gone, it's gone until next month, not a suggestion, an actual boundary. If you're a status spender, your risk is that upgrades disguise themselves as necessities. For you, add a simple rule. Anything outside your normal categories, wait 72 hours before you buy it. Not because you can't afford things, because that pause is exactly long enough to tell the difference between something you actually want and something you want other people to see you have. If you're a vigilant saver, your risk is bucket 2 eating buckets 1 and 3 alive out of pure habit. For you, the assignment is almost the opposite of everyone else's. You need to actually spend your present you bucket on purpose every single month, without letting it roll over into savings by default. That discomfort you'll feel doing this is not a warning sign. It's just an old script losing its grip, exactly like we talked about back in episode 1. I want to be honest about something before we wrap up, because it matters more than any spreadsheet template. This system will not feel natural at first, no matter which script you're carrying. That's not a sign it's broken. That's just what it feels like to override something that was installed in you before you could read. The system doesn't need to feel comfortable to work. It needs to run whether or not it feels comfortable that particular week. And slowly, month over month, the discomfort fades, and what used to feel like forcing yourself starts to feel like just how you naturally handle money now. This is really the missing piece from everything we've built across this series so far. Episode 1 gave you the why, where the beliefs came from. Episode 2 gave you the warning, what happens when more money shows up and nobody's watching. And today gives you the actual container, a structure that holds all of that insight and turns it into something that runs on its own month after month, without needing you to be in a perfect mood or full of willpower every single day. Coming up next, we're going somewhere a lot of finance content quietly avoids because it gets uncomfortable fast. What happens when two people with two completely different money scripts try to build a life and a budget together? Money fights in relationships are almost never actually about the money. They're about two different childhood dinner tables colliding in the same kitchen decades later. That episode is next, and if you've ever had a disagreement about money with a partner that felt way more intense than the actual dollar amount justified, you're going to see exactly why. If today's episode helped you actually picture a system you could realistically start this week, drop a comment and tell me which bucket is hardest for you personally, fixed, future, or present. I read these, and honestly, they usually tell me exactly what topic to cover next. And if you're just catching up, go back and watch episode 1 and episode 2 before this one if you haven't already. This series builds piece by piece, and it lands a lot harder in order. This has been Capital Frame, real conversations about money, mindset, and the habits underneath the habits. No fluff, no gimmicks. Take care of your money, and more importantly, take care of the story you're telling yourself about it. That's the episode. See you in the next one.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure. Don't forget to share. Goodbye.